That's here, bringing you guys a brand new Pokemon TCG deck that I've been working on for a little while. I'm thinking about going to a league challenge this Saturday. It's going to be in Concord, and it's in the standard format, so I needed a cool standard format deck to mess around with. And I decided to make a cool budget deck around Regice. You know, it has that really strong Resistance Blizzard, costs 3 energy during your opponent's next turn, prevent all effects of attacks, including damage done to this Pokemon by Pokemon EX. It's a pretty good Pokemon. It's pretty cheap. It comes from Ancient Origins, and we're going to be making a deck pretty much around this guy. It has 4 Regice. It also has 4 Articuno. Now, this is the Articuno that has the plus power, and it gets an additional prize whenever it knocks out an opposing Pokemon. So right off the bat, you can see we're kind of going with that just standard deck that would kind of be known to be used with like Mega Manectric or stuff like that, but these are going to be our main big attackers. Pretty much we're going to try to sit on Regice as much as possible, and if possible, we can always swing in the Articuno and, knock out an EX or knock out, another type of Pokemon to get an additional prize. Or, we can always Lysander in something and just go for a quick Tri-Edge. Maybe you just gotta hit like one coin flip to finish it off. So, pretty easy stuff to get. These things are super cheap. You guys can pick these up anywhere. Our next Pokemon are going to be 2 Manaphy EX. Now, these things, I think, actually make the deck work because, as you can see, Articuno and Regice have huge retreat costs, and I don't want to pay those. So we're going to be using Manaphy EX, who has the Aqua Tube ability. Each of your Pokemon that has a water energy attached to it has no retreat cost. Also has a decent attack in Mineral Pump, heals some of the Pokemon on your bench for 60 damage. We're going to be using 2 Manaphy EX. So Manaphy EX being a Pokemon that I really think is amazing, and the reason why we're running 2 is because I think the deck really needs it, and it could possibly get prized. So we're going to be running 2 Manaphy EX for now. It's also good to get just additional basic Pokemon so you can start the game correctly. Our next Pokemon is going to be Shaman EX. This thing is pretty good. You kind of need at least one in most decks right now. Being able to set up and replenish your hand is something that's very important in this deck because none of your Pokemon can really give you any draw power. Next Pokemon is going to be Jirachi. You may think, why am I running Jirachi in here? Well, Stardust can discard energies, and discarding energy is going to be a main focus of this deck. Because while you're looking at our basic Pokemon here, we don't really have that much power. We don't really have any EX power other than Manaphy, and we're pretty much just relying on Resistance Blizzarding to win the game rather fast before our opponent's engines can set up. So we're going to be using Stardust and a lot of energy disruption to make sure our opponents can't really get their engines going. And our last Pokemon, I don't know if I'm going to take this out, but I'm going to be running a Glaceon EX. It has that Crystal Ray, pretty much the same thing as Regice, but for evolved Pokemon. So I don't really plan on using the Glaceon all that much, but it just gives the deck a little bit of a different flavor if I feel like going for that. So those then are going to be our Pokemon. We have pretty much all basics, very, very easy, simple to get stuff other than pretty much the Shaman. So after that, we're going to go into our supporters, and I'm going to show you guys how the deck actually varies from decks that you've normally seen, because this is a little bit of a different build. So I got 4 Sycamore. 4 Sycamore is pretty standard, and you can see right here I have 4 Team Flare Grunts. Team Flare Grunts discard an energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. So this is going to be how we're going to win games. Like I said, we're trying to get in there before our opponent's engines can actually get going. And we're just going to be able to take away an energy every single turn while just layering up Resistance Blizzarding, hitting with Tri-Edges. And, we're going to try and win these games within 3 or 4 turns. And it's super fun. It's definitely a little bit different. And we're going to be also using 3 ends. Ends are pretty good. Being able to, get a new hand is something I definitely like. It doesn't combo too well with Articuno, but you know what I mean. I need to be able to end first few turns of the game if I have to. After that, we have 2 Lysanders, and we have 1 Hex Maniac. I have an extra slot here, so we're going to be using the Hex Maniac. It's not like I really rely on my abilities other than Manaphy that much, and Shaman, I guess. So we're going to go into the trainers now. Note that I'm not going to be using Ultra Balls. I'm just going to be going with Dive Balls. I mean, I guess I could Ultra Ball for like Shaman or Jirachi, but I'm just going to be going with Dive Balls. I don't really have any other way to replenish my hand, so I don't want to be Ultra Balling all that stuff away. And we're going to be using 4 Max Elixirs. This is something I really, really like. Max Elixir makes this deck go off. I'm going to be using a ton of water energy. And Articuno and Regice both use a ton of water energy to attack. Being able to attach multiple energy per turn is something that's super good. And remember, Manaphy makes it so my active has no retreat cost if it has a water energy. So all I really have to do is at some point attach a water energy to my active Pokemon, use a bunch of Max Elixirs on Pokemon in my back, free retreat, and then we're good to go. So 4 Max Elixirs are definitely something that's needed in this deck. keeping up with the energy disruption core, we're going to be using 4 crushing hammers. Flip a coin if heads, discard an energy attached to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Remember, we need to get rid of their energy, and if I can keep them from hitting like a 3 energy mark for the first 3 or 4 turns of the game, I'm sitting in a very confident spot, and I'm probably going to win that game. That's just how I see it. So that is the way this deck works. We use 4 Flare Guns, 4 Crushing Hammers. We're using Jirachi. We're also using 1 Enhanced Hammer. I don't really think I need the Enhanced Hammer, but you know what? Discard a special energy attached to one. Discard a special energy attached to one of your opponent's Pokemon, getting rid of their DCs or double dragon energies or something that's generally pretty good. And if I don't need to use this card, it's not like it really kills me. And then the last 2 cards that are trainers are just going to be 2 Verse Seekers. Note that I don't want to go too heavy in items because item lock is rather big in my area. And I think this deck can definitely do well. It hits a very safe opening most of the time. I usually start either an Articuno, Regice, or Manaphy at the very start of the game, and then from there I can dive ball for Manaphy if I don't have it, start using Flare Grunt, start using Crushing Hammers, pop 1 energy, a Max Elixir, and just go to town on turn 2, starting out big with that Regice. So that is the way I want to play the deck. I've had pretty moderate success with it so far. Last little bit of the deck, we're going to be using 4 double colorless energies, just for the Regice. It's just pretty much for the Regice. I guess it also works on Shaman over here for setups, but after that we're using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 water energies. And I know some of you guys think, wow, that's too many. You can probably get away with 12 or maybe even 10. I just want to be a little bit safe. I guess I could take out 2 or 3 of these and put in a couple other cards that I'm going to talk about in just a sec, but these work for me. I always tend to have a little bit more energy because I like to be able to play the game. You know, sometimes in a best of 1 format you can't really, you just miss your curve, you know, because, oh man, I got energy screwed. Oh man, I didn't have enough basics. Well, I'd like to sacrifice a little bit more options and just go for a safe play that lets me hit my curve every single time. So this is the deck. I think it does really well against, you know, standard decks that are definitely EX focused or definitely evolution focused. Decks that take a little bit to get going, hitting like 2 or 3 energy curves. This deck can definitely disrupt those and get in there. Decks that work off 1 or to some extent, depending on the attack, like 2 energy, if it's not like a DCE, can definitely run this deck over rather fast. But one of the good things about this deck is they're only getting really 1 prize for every knockout. So that is one of the definite strengths of this deck. I'm actually going to go into a couple cards you guys can use instead. If you don't have some of these cards, if you want to mix it up a little bit and use this deck for yourself, I'd recommend Trainer's Mail. Note that I'm using a literal ton of trainers, Crushing Hammers and Max Elixirs and Dive Ball being some of them. Trainer's Mail lets you look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You can reveal a trainer card and put it in your hand. So it pretty much just lets you, you know, scry for another trainer. And I think it's pretty good, and it would be probably the #1 card I would put in this deck if I had any room. So Trainer's Mail is pretty good. Note that I'm using all basics, so Fighting Fury Belt is definitely amazing. It gives your Pokemon 40 health, and they do 10 more damage, which is really good on Articuno. Now, I was thinking about using Fighting Fury Belt in this deck, but I realized I'm not really hurting for damage. I'd rather hit my curve, more or less, because once I get in that safe spot with 2 Regice ready to go, or like a Regice, an Articuno, and a Glaceon, depending on the matchup, I'm definitely probably just going to win, and it's not like I need Fighting Fury Belt to tip me over the edge. But if you guys think you need Fighting Fury Belt, you can definitely go for it. It's a great card. Other than that, we have Rough Seas, similar to Fighting Fury Belt. Once during either player's turn, that player may heal 30 damage from each of his water or electric Pokemon. And this is pretty good because sometimes you take damage, and since I'm using 2 rather weak attackers, I'm going to take a lot of damage. The only reason I would really recommend Rough Seas is if you want to disrupt your opponent's stadium, and this stadium kind of works for you, so that's a reason to run Rough Seas. But like I said, I'm not really trying to elongate the lives of my Pokemon. I'm trying to get in there and do what they do best. I don't need them to sit on the board for multiple turns without, like, I don't need Regice, you know, to fight, what is it, what would be something that Regice would fight? Like, I'm not fighting their Zoroarks with my Regice, you know what I mean? And if I was, you know, well, that's probably my fault. I should be using Articuno for that. So, you see what I mean? I don't really think Rough Seas is needed in this deck, but it's something that can go in there to disrupt my opponent's stadium play. Other than that, Professor's Letter is a decent card. It works because I have so many water energy in the deck. Sometimes you need to hit energy for the next few turns of the game. I don't really think Professor's Letter is that great in this deck, just because N is so big right now. If you Professor's Letter and attach an energy, they're just going to N you, and you're going to be at you're going to pretty much lose that extra energy. Next card is Giovanni's Scheme. I think this is actually a pretty decent card in this deck because it varies a bit from the Fighting Fury belt. Now you can choose one of two effects, draw until you have 5 cards, or during this turn your Pokemon attacks do 20 more damage. And I think the 20 more damage combo with the Articuno Triage makes you guarantee hit for 40, which is something that you actually need sometimes. It lets your Articuno potentially hit for 120 if you hit 3 heads, which is that like benchmark, especially against decks like these that you might want to hit. So it's that little benchmark area. I think 100, 110 is the zone you need to get over to fight against non-EX decks. So Giovanni's Scheme definitely worth thinking about. Next up we have Skyla, and you may think, well, Skyla's probably too slow for this deck. You're already running a ton of supporters, but Skyla can search for Dive Ball. Skyla can search for Max Elixir and the Crushing Hammers and the Enhanced Hammers. So Skyla can let you, combo like 2 Max Elixirs in one turn. Like you play one from your hand, and then you Skyla for a second one, and that's one of the things that makes like miracles happen. I think Skyla's a pretty cool card, and I would probably be running it over the Hex Maniac if I didn't need the Hex Maniac to avoid item lock. And then the last card here is going to be an Avlog. So I've really talked about trainers and supporters you can run instead, but if you don't have some of these basics, you don't have the Shame, you don't have the Glaceon, and you want to run something different that keeps with the whole theme of discarding cards from your opponent's hand, you could try the Avlog. This thing has Crunch for 2 colorless energy, you can use your DCE for it. Flip a coin if heads, discard an energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. So this Pokemon, I thought it sucked, and I just got like I needed some codes, so I bought a Steam Siege pack, and I pulled one of these guys, and I was like, this technically works. It's not great. It's actually terrible, but it technically works with the theme of the deck. Discarding your opponent's energy, elongating like the game until you can hit your curve, and then once you have what you need, you can just attach water energy to it if it's not there already, withdraw him out, and then come in with your heavy hitters, Regice and Articuno. So that is going to be the deck. I think I'm going to do pretty well. I usually tend to do pretty well. There were like 60, 70 masters at the last one of these week challenges in NorCal. So let's see how this does. Let me know, guys, if you have any things you would change about the deck. I'm definitely open to construction here. And like I said, I'm not like a perfect player. I just play what I think works. And yeah, I'm definitely open to criticism. So let me know what you guys think. I hope you guys enjoyed the deck, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.